Our annual paddle trip to the wilderness with Pam and Al and Brad and I was to Quetico Provincial Park, and we were going to be doing a loop from Beaver House to Quetico Lake to Casacacquag to Cirrus back to Beaver House.
We're about to tackle Alpine Creek, and we know that the water is low, and this may or may not complicate our trip up the creek. There is also a 76 rod portage included to get to Casacacquag Lake. Well, sure enough, we had to step out of the canoe and walk the canoe now and then, and even a couple times we had to pull the canoe forward.
At times we had to step out and walk the canoe through the water because it was too shallow. The bottom was either hard sand or mucky sand that wasn't too bad.
We did come across 2 beaver dams. One was small and we were able to easily push through, being out of the canoe and push the canoe over. And the second one was taller and we had to lift push the canoes over into deeper water. Once over the beaver dam, we were able to paddle a decent ways until we got to the actual portage.
It was a very difficult portage, only 76 rods, but steep and rocky and muddy.
We came to the end of the portage, reloaded our canoe, paddled about 100 feet around the corner, and could see that McAlpine Creek turns into a rocky bottom with about 3 inches of water. So it's time to portage again.
So we pull our gear out of the boats and walk up the creek to a little area where we reload and finally enter Casacacquag Lake.
Now we're paddling almost half that lake, and we passed up 4 campsites before we settled on a 5th campsite, one that we had camped on 17 years ago. This was a big day, a lot of energy spent for 4 people that averaged 70 years old.
We finally get to a campsite and it's late. We have to find firewood, cook, set up the tundra tarp, and the sun is about to set. So we are very good at pulling our canoe up out of the water, emptying it, turning it upside down, putting it somewhere up on the shoreline, tucked in, tied to a tree, and we did that on the night of August 20th. But we were so tired and it was so late, and we neglected to notice a dead tree. This was going to be a travel day, but we are blown in. Our tent is back there in the trees. We had to move our kitchen into the woods because it was getting blown away as well. That's where our kitchen was. You can just see our tent moving through the trees. Crazy. We had to take the center pole down out of our tundra tarp. It's just blowing too much. And here's our impromptu kitchen. We remember camping here about 10 years ago and we called it the Black Lagoon. Notice the laundry line on the 3 trees. At 12:08 p.m., we were sitting around in the kitchen eating lunch, and suddenly gusts of wind came through, and Al said, "Tree," and about 20-30 feet behind us in the forest, a tree fell. We looked around where we were and we saw that 3rd tree out there by the water and thought it didn't look so good. And just as we were pointing to it, the rope unfurled from the 1st tree close to us, the 2nd tree, and the laundry went flying down toward the shoreline.
We watched the tree blow down, and right away I realized, the canoe!
And I replayed the sound in my head, and my brain told me, oh, that was the clunk of a tree falling on a canoe. And we walked around down the tree line, saw the uprooted tree, and then looked around the corner where the canoe had been, and this is what we saw.
Obviously, we got to get this tree off the canoe, so we pretty much immediately go get our saws and we start hacking away. So not only did we have to deal with a broken canoe, but the tree landed in a spot that was really close to a high use area for us to get to the water, to load our canoe, to get water. There's plenty of places to jump in and go swimming, but we liked that spot especially well. So not only did the tree have to come off the canoe, but it had to get its branch litter out of our high use shoreline.
That looks so cute.
Brad took the bow and Al and I took the stern, and we carried the canoe up to a flatter space where they would be able to work on it. And as we were walking the canoe up the hill, I looked at Al and Al looked at me, and the canoe went pop and went right back into canoe shape. The dent was gone, but the cracks were still there.
The tree, of course, had broken the gunnel on both sides of the stern. There was no doubt that we were going to fix this. Al disappeared into the woods for at least a half an hour, looking for some bracing for the gunnels. While he was gone, I spent my time cleaning up the shore use area.
When I came over to look at what was going on, I was pretty impressed that he had found some really nice cedar branches, and he made his own wedges. Using those wedges, he proceeded to split the cedar branches lengthwise.
So the piece of cedar tree that Al split was actually from either a hollow branch or at least a hollow part of a tree. And it was really a good size to work with to brace up the gunnels.
So then Brad took the bark off and did a little bit of shaping, and Al used an old piece of wire that we had found as litter to sew those cedar branches onto where the gunnels were broken. Craftsmanship at its finest.
So with the new gunnels, the integrity of the boat was perfect. Now it's time to just duct tape the leaky spots.
So they waited until the canoe was dry to do that.
That's the repair from this tree that fell on our canoe.
It floats! Each step of the repair of this canoe and to putting the canoe on the water just filled me with joy. And I'm holding on to the canoe so he can't leave without me.
I'm trying.
All right, I'm gonna get in. Onto your rope.
Smooth as butter.
The tree fell on our canoe on that windy day of August 21st, and we were able to use it and finish paddling Cirrus Lake and Beaver House Lake until we left late on August 26th. What lesson did you learn from our adventure?